President Bush warned the world about the axis of evil in 2002.
North Korea is a regime arming with missiles and weapons of mass destruction. Iran aggressively pursues these weapons and exports terror. Iraq continues to flaunt its hostility toward America and to support terror. States like these and their terrorist allies constitute an axis of evil, arming to threaten the peace of the world.
Nearly a dozen years later, there is still a threat from these terror states. North Korea's new dictator may be worse than his father. Kim Jong-un just executed his own flesh and blood, his Uncle Yang. Iran is getting closer and closer to making the bomb, and there is now word that the American it's holding has been hostage for nearly 7 years. He may actually have been working for the CIA. In Iraq, 10 years to the day after the capture of Saddam Hussein, al-Qaeda is resurgent and has control of vast parts of the country. So let's start with the news about Iranian hostage Robert Levinson. First, I want to discuss the actual operation, then get into the AP's decision to run the story, which has been pretty controversial. Eric, the administration is saying that this was unsanctioned, that this was a rogue group of analysts who sent him in to do these spy missions, and he didn't have the authority to do it. Do you think this is the CIA just giving itself some plausible deniability?
I'm not. First of all, Jay Carney came and said he didn't think Levinson was that Levinson was not working for the government when he went over to Iran in 2007. I'm not sure anyone knows that yet. I'd like to know how he knows that's the case, because the AP is reporting that he did, in fact, work with or for the CIA in 2007. The interesting part for me, though, is, okay, so the AP and allegedly the New York Times knew about this for 3 years, right? So now they've known they're looking for Levinson. They can't find the guy. He's a family. They don't know what's going on with him, but they sat on it because the administration said, don't go with this story yet because we're still working on leads. 3 years later, the AP says, look, we keep trying. We're going to go with the story. They go with the story. And the administration says, well, how could you do that? Why would you do that? You're jeopardizing the guy. Well, he's been gone for 6 years. And for 3 years, they've said, sit on the story. At some point, transparency, right? We need to know what's going on.
Dana, getting into that, Eric mentioned that they decided to run the story. In the story, it said that U.S. officials knew, that the Iranians knew that he was CIA. So if they didn't know, I could see them not running the story. But could you see them doing it to put some pressure on an administration that's been dragging its feet?
Well, I do believe in operational security for all of our people, American citizens, whether they're working for the government or not. And I think that the State Department, CIA, and other intel agencies have so much responsibilities and thinking ahead of just the news story that they used in order to protect people. I'm hesitant here because this is a story that I used to get asked about quite a bit, and I'm not able to talk about a lot of it in particular. On the news front, when newspapers like the New York Times decided to run the terrorist surveillance program in 2005, that was after many months of the White House, and maybe it was even a couple of years, of the Bush administration asking the New York Times not to do it because it would disrupt our ability to track down terrorists. And I think that news organizations, on balance, they try to do a fairly good job of it, but my gut instinct is to err on the side of caution and protection of these individuals.
Bob, Colonel Ralph Peters was on Gretchen Carlson's show earlier today. He said, why didn't this administration try and negotiate his release before they embarked in sanctions? Now this is a delicate scenario. And would you call it maybe a diplomatic crisis? Is there any other way to put it?
First of all, let's keep in mind, before you jump over this administration, this guy was taken in 2007, 2 years before he went over there. Now, but the real question in my mind is, we don't have a lot of information here, why this guy went to Kish Island, which is an Iranian resort island, where you're most likely, if you're an American, you're going to get picked up. He left his hotel, he went into a cab, and he disappeared. Now, he was a contractor, apparently, with the CIA. The CIA paid his family $2.5 million. Something in this thing smells to me, and I just don't, I don't want to comment beyond that, but I just don't think the story is a lot more to play out.
It's a pretty incredible story. I mean, Greg, we assume that there are spies all over the world. I should hope there are spies. Whose story are you buying?
Well, spying entails risk. Without risk, everybody would spy. If you don't have risk, spying would basically just be hanging out. But I completely, totally forgot that there was a whole other world out there, because we have an administration for the past, I don't know, 3 or 4 years that have been obsessing over remaking 1/6 of our economy. His legacy. It is like he is like a person who's obsessed with vacuuming one part of the house while everything else is falling apart. There are so many things going on in this world that are dangerous. The world hasn't changed. It hasn't gotten any safer. But we have an administration that is so focused on one thing that all these other things are being ignored.
You got Obamacare in there really quickly.
It's my thing. It's Friday.
There's another issue that many say is being ignored. We've covered it here on The Five. But the jailed pastor in Iran, his wife spoke out. She had some harsh words for the United States government, saying that Tehran is testing President Obama.
I had anticipated that I would battle the Iranian government for my husband's freedom. I never anticipated that I would also have to battle my own government. So today, Saeed sits in that Iranian prison being tortured for his faith. He will not deny the faith that has saved him, that has given him life. He refuses to deny his faith in Jesus and return to Islam. This season, I not only pray for the release of my husband, but I hope and I pray that our government would realize where we've fallen from, and how far we've fallen.
Eric, why is the administration not doing more?
I don't know. Here's an opportunity. You want to lift. By the way, lifting sanctions is the worst idea this administration has ever had. Only Obamacare could be the worst idea, and they're very, very close. Lifting sanctions on Iran is a mistake. But if you're going to do something, lift part of the sanctions, but also negotiate. What the hell happened to Levinson? Where the hell is Afridi? We want Afridi back. Tell us what's going on with Levinson. Not too much to ask, actually.
Mm-hmm. It's surprising that the Iranians don't just take this opportunity to look benevolent and at least allow the pastor to go. If they have problems with espionage or intelligence concerns when it comes to the other individual, okay, there is that. But on the pastor, it would seem to me that it would work in the Iranians' favor in terms of worldwide recognition of, oh yes, they really are trying to turn a corner, even though I don't believe that.